Talk is already underway about what lawmakers and the governor will try to do next year in the 2020 session. With us today, State Senator George Logan, he's a Republican, and State Senator Derek Slapp, a Democrat. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us on this Sunday morning. And Senator Slapp, I'll begin with you because we had the president of UConn on last week. We asked about paying college athletes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, it's a great idea, but I want to be very clear. Sometimes people hear that and they think that we're talking about the government paying the athletes or the university paying the athletes. That's not the case. What we want to do is follow California's lead. They passed a bill unanimously, so bipartisan, of course, where it simply says if the NCAA is making money off the student's likeness, that the student can get some part of that, and it will also give them ability to seek endorsements and to have an agent. For me, it's about fairness, it's about equity, and it's also about free market capitalism. And in California, Republicans and Democrats got together and did something, and I hope we can do the same here.
Senator Logan, is that something you would support?
I'm a little reluctant. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when I take a look at that, I like to see that type of money used to help reduce tuition for all the students at the school, for the school to benefit from it. When you look at athletes now that are getting full scholarships, you're still talking probably over $100,000 plus all the benefits that are involved with being in an athletic program. Students are there to learn. And if there's an added benefit in terms of doing sports, they will reap those benefits after their college days.
Where do you see this going in the spring?
Yeah, well, let me just raise a point that George spoke to, and that was about getting the benefits after, right? And we're a unique state in terms of women's sports, right? How popular it is, and a lot of times women don't get the benefits, certainly to the same degree that men do after they graduate. So this is also a way that we can fight for pay equity here. If a student at UConn is able to have a basketball camp, as an example, and raise some revenue that way, why not let them? And especially when it disproportionately helps women at this level.
So what you're saying is that their top of their career might be a junior year in college and may never come again.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could just, raise an analogy here. So, George, you're a great musician, right? Okay.
Someone thinks so.
All right. Well, I've heard you play, and you're pretty good. So, if you have a scholarship to UConn, let's say, and not athletic, but for let's say for playing the guitar, right? You're able to go out and you can give music lessons. You can raise revenue, for yourself. You can do that, right, in the off season or even during the school year. But if you're an athlete, you can't. And to me, that just doesn't seem fair.
I want to shift gears to tolls a little bit because we're still awaiting a transportation proposal from the governor, expected this fall. Has your opinion on tolls changed at all? You were opposed to them last year. Are you still opposed to them?
Well, I'm opposed to tolls and the toll plans, but the real issue is paying for our transportation infrastructure needs. That is the core, and how to go about doing it. Connecticut Republicans came up with a plan for doing that. Doesn't involve tolls, doesn't involve increasing taxes. I give the governor all due respect, and I want to hear whatever plans he comes up with to take a listen and see what they are. But I haven't heard a tolls plan yet that I like.
Was the toll plan last year too big?
Well, George mentioned the Republican plan, and to be fair, I want to talk about both of them just real quickly. The Republican plan last year was borrowing over $30 billion, so it was maxing out our already maxed out state credit card, and Connecticut residents would pay 100% of it. I think most Connecticut residents understand we can't borrow our way out of this. Now, the same side, or the other side, I should say, right, 85 toll booths, gentries, whatever, not going to happen. So I think both parties should come together. We know that to get our economy moving, we've got to fix our transportation infrastructure. So very targeted tolls, maybe at bridges, whatever the plan is. I haven't seen it. Open to it only if 100% of the revenue goes to fixing our transportation.
And what about temporary tolls? For instance, they would only be put in to support this particular project, and once that project is done and paid for, they're gone.
Open to it, but skeptical because a lot of people don't trust state government. In the past, previous legislators have always not given them reason to, so I understand people's skepticism, but I do think we have to move forward on something.
Let's start with our next topic, bound to come up, legalizing marijuana. Where do you stand on that, Senator?
Well, I think we already have legalized marijuana here in Connecticut. We have a medical marijuana program. We have over 30,000 people already with their medical marijuana card. How many people do we want smoking marijuana in Connecticut? We don't need it. It's a bad example for our children, and I'm not in favor of legalizing marijuana for recreational use. Medical use, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with improving the program that we have now, but not for recreational use.
Could it be good for the economy, though? You drive to Massachusetts and you drive through Rhode Island, you see these little stores now that sell it.
That doesn't mean it's good for the economy. You have to look at some of the societal costs as well. First of all, for example, every state that has legalized marijuana for recreational use has had an increase of 50% in traffic accidents, for example, related to marijuana. So guess what? Our insurance rates are going to go up. You take a look at Connecticut, opioids problem, right? This is not going to help the situation by legalizing marijuana.
Senator, you're from West Hartford. Would you want a marijuana shop in West Hartford Center?
Well, I would say there is some evidence, actually, that legalized marijuana does help the opiate epidemic. So there's some mixed stats on it, but if you look at other states, it has been been proven to put a dent in that. I agree with George in the sense that we should not make this decision based on finances and how much revenue it's going to come in. It should be a public health decision. If we can make it safer, if we can regulate it, I'm open to legalization. I like the governor's approach of working with New York State, and whatever we do, doing it at a regional level makes sense to me. I mean, it's already here, right? It's on 91. It's in our schools. It's on our streets. So we need to, I think, act and make it safer.
What kind of scenario would you want to see? Would you want people to be able to smoke wherever they go, down the sidewalks, or would you want little shops where they'd have to do it?
No, certainly not. And I haven't, we can look at what other states are doing. I haven't seen really any in-depth bill here that would address all the concerns yet. I mean, I think George raised a good point in terms of public safety on our roads. That's something we have to look at. So I would want to bring in police officers, an example, and bring all the stakeholders together and see if we can't craft something.
Some believe this prepared meals tax, which went into effect on October 1st, needs to be tweaked a little bit. Republicans wanted a special session. You didn't get it. What kind of tweaks would you like to see made to it? Well, I'll be going with you on this one, Senator Slapp.
Well, I mean, we need to be very clear. It's not a grocery tax. I'm not in favor of a grocery tax. I would kill a grocery tax, and if it ever comes up again, I will kill it again. So that's regressive, and it's not the way to help middle class and working families. I'm all for tweaking. I don't enjoy and I don't support, I don't like regressive taxation. So any times that we can, we can scale that back, I would be open to it.
And I want to be clear, it is a groceries tax. You go to the grocery stores, you pay extra for your groceries, you pay extra for prepared meals. It's hurting the middle class in our state, and it's something that I voted against when I voted against the budget. And every single legislator that voted in favor of the budget that went into effect on July 1st voted for this groceries tax.
I want to shift to a question that I just asked Chairman Romano and Chairwoman Wyman, and that is about an early primary. Early primaries can mean millions of dollars for the states in terms of the candidates coming in to spend money on advertising, hotels, caterers. They hire people, they open offices. Ours is the end of the season, which probably means only one person will be left. Who will that be, by the way? Which Democrat will be left?
Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren. Okay, so you believe she'll be left. Who do you think?
I'm looking to see. We'll see.
Okay. What can the state do to change this?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that, one, that's an issue that more of a federal level. We haven't discussed it much in the legislature thus far.
But the state could take action.
Sure. And I'd be more than open to the discussion and seeing what the benefits would be and what the downside would be. But I'm certainly open to discussing the issue.
We have to move it up. It was in February, not so long ago, and the legislature, before we got there, moved it back all the way to April 28th, where it is now. Most of the candidates will have dropped out by then. I think it's 80% of the delegates will have been decided. And in terms of the Democratic Party, we will have states that are older and less diverse than the party as a whole, and specifically Connecticut, deciding who our nominee is. So I don't think that's the right way to go. I think we should move it up as soon as we can.
Why do you think candidates come here to collect money and never bother meeting the voters here?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, because when we're so late, and also it doesn't just affect politics, but it affects public policy because, if there are issues that we care about, let's say gun safety as an example, if we were earlier in the calendar, maybe some of those issues might get more press.
You had a very narrow re-election this past go around.
That's correct.
Blamed on President Trump. A lot of people say it was his lack of popularity that hurt you because you're a Republican. Do you think that it will have an impact on the candidates running in municipal races this fall?
What's going to have an impact on the candidates running this fall is what's going on here in Connecticut and the policies that Governor Lamont is pushing forward and the policies that are hurting Connecticut residents. I ran on a message, right? The message was to make Connecticut more affordable for people, to fight against taxes, fight against tolls. Those are the things that are going to resonate. And that's why we won. Remember, I didn't lose. I won the election. I'm going to keep on that same task.
When people say to you, and I'm sure you must get some complaints about the governor or the state government, it does happen. People aren't happy about taxes or aren't happy about this. What do you say to them?
Well, I mean, elections are most often about local issues. So I agree with George when it comes to that. And it's about constituent services and things that aren't always sexy, but that really do matter. I will say, though, that I think the Trump administration is an outlier here. And I think people want to see Republicans, both, statewide, in the legislature, et cetera, stand up to the Trump administration. It's time to pick, our country over party.
George Logan?
Yeah, and I would call it a diversionary tactic there, to focus away from what's going on here in Connecticut, which is the problem we have here by the leadership in Connecticut. That's what needs to be addressed.
Senators, we thank you both for coming on the program. Have a great Sunday. In a moment, a look back at one of our top stories 50 years ago this fall. I welcome your viewpoints by connecting with me on social media right now. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.